Brenda. Brenda is the name journalists of a certain age call the Queen, slang. It's from an old thing that Private Eye did in the 70s. And in my career, we've always called the Queen Brenda. And so Brenda got called Brenda when she first came here as a calf. And I just think it's so prophetic that she's calving today when the Queen died last night.
When Jack of Jack and the Beanstalk fame came back from the market, having sold the family cow for a few beans, his mum showed amazing restraint by only giving him a clip round the ear. Because at the heart of my small farm, at the centre of my food self-sufficiency project, is a spectacular natural food and fertility machine, which is responsible for almost all my food for the year. She produces whey and skimmed milk for the pigs, our dairy produce and beef, and spectacular compost to grow crops. Brenda came here as a week-old calf 4 years ago in preparation for this project. She's a priceless member of the family.
Get back in there, you. There you go, get him. Brenda, go and look after him. He's all over the gap, your kid. Children, eh?
How old is he now?
He is a week old. He's doing really well. He hasn't got his ear tags in or anything cool yet, but he's doing really well. And he's just he's got over that kind of wobbly on his legs stage, and he's just really bouncy now. In dairying, with dairy cows, you don't get milk unless the cow has a calf. So to keep the cow in milk, the cow's got to have calves. What happens in commercial dairies is that the cow calves once a year. She's milked for 10 months, she has 2 months off, then she calves again, and then she's milked for another 10 months. And that is the way the dairy industry has worked for a really, really long time. What happens is, so you can get all the milk, so the dairy farmer can get all the milk, so the consumer, in fairness, can get all the milk. What happens is the calf's taken away from the cow 3 to 5 days, so he would be on his own by now, and Brenda would be being milked in a big dairy herd. So what I'm trying to do, and what a few other people in Britain are starting to try to do, is to compromise and leave the calf with the cow and do share milking. So the calf, you've got a dairy cow that produces lots of milk, and you've got a calf which has a lot of the milk, and you take what's left, or you take your share of the milk. It's called cow-calf dairying, and there are a growing number of dairy farmers in Britain who are trying to keep the calves on the cow and have ethical milk and ethical dairying. I am old enough to remember when there were no free-range eggs available commercially in Britain, because they were all battery produced, and consumer pressure started on the egg-laying industry, and free-range eggs became a niche, and they became such a huge niche that people thought, oh, hang on a second, yeah, it is possible for us to produce free-range eggs for lots and lots of people on a mass scale. Now, we're at the stage we are now, 40 years later, where it's actually quite difficult not to buy a free-range egg in the supermarket. They're all free-range, and I think the same thing can happen with dairying. So no, I don't see conventional dairy farmers the enemy at all. They're my friends. I see them as working in a system that probably needs to change.
A few miles up the road from me, my friend Hannah has started a micro dairy alongside her beef suckler herd. One of her dairy cows, Bella, she actually bought from me when my own cow had her first calf. It's tiny outfits like this that I hope will grow in number and breathe some new life into farming in the West Country.
I wanted to be able to drink milk and dairy products, but I found it really hard to find dairy products from farms that I trusted were, one, treating cows in the way that I would want cows to be treated. Secondly, sort of, doing it in an ecological, environmentally friendly way. Where I was living, which was in a city, I just didn't really know where to get that milk. So it almost made me not want to eat dairy. But I knew nutritionally I wanted to have dairy as part of my diet, and I really enjoy it.
Do you think that someone can actually make a living out of a micro dairy, say milking 5 or 6 cows?
I think it can work if you're selling, firstly, directly to customers. So people are buying, from the farmer. But secondly, if that product is really standing apart from what you would buy in a supermarket, it could be the fact that it's cow-calf. So, because for some people, that's sort of a priority. Or it could be that it's grass-fed. For some people, that's really important.
Or unpasteurised.
Or, yeah, exactly. Raw milk, some people, or A2, what we talked about before. So people, are choosing a different product. They're choosing usually to pay a lot more for it. But I think in that way, if you're really distinguishing it as a different product, it can work economically.
Now, the last time I made this, he complained that it was too hot. And so I don't want to blow his head off, but it's chili sauce, so it needs to have a punch. So I think I'm going to go for 4, I reckon. And I'm going to get a few of these tomatoes to thin it out, otherwise it'll be too thick and it won't be as much of a spoonable sauce as it will, a soup. I think 4 of those will do. I'm going to roast the tomatoes and chilies with some thyme, actually, because that's quite nice. I think that he's going to be much happier once he's got a bit of variety in what he eats. And so that's the whole thing behind doing this chili sauce. I think that he's going to have, he can add it to lots of things. When I did it before, he was having it on toast. So I think that... This is the hot one. This is the one that I'm going to sneak into his sauce. The problem with this as well is that he hasn't yet got any fat in the way of oil. You wouldn't put sort of animal fat in this anyway, but oil or something would be something that you would usually use. Really hot tomatoey stock that will be really nice for anything that you do, any soups you do.
Yeah.
That'd be absolutely delicious.
I mean, that's the perfect accompaniment to what I've been eating, basically. It's fab.
Well,
Thank you so much,
recipe
darling.
lab. Recipe lab.
Yeah, it's fab. Thank you. All right, we're going to give you some food, hens.
No sunflower seeds on any of them. And that's got a few. All gone. All gone. Something is having them. I don't know whether it's mice or birds, but something's having them. Like that one, nothing in it. That one, nothing in it. Something is already starting eating those, and these are on the anti-acrobat mouse wire. So it's birds. These are the last of the flowers on the outside. And you rub them all off. And there are the seeds underneath. Cooking some chamomile. You don't need much because it's very strong. These are red berries from the hawthorn, quickthorn. And there's so much food for overwintering migrant birds here. It's just like a complete bird paradise. And what farmers do is that they cut the sides off all their hedges by the roads and everywhere else, to be honest, and they cut the tops off them so that they don't flower properly, so you don't get the berries. And so all of those hedgerows all over the English countryside aren't producing the food that they could be, just so they look neat. You know, it's not about stopping branches growing into the road. It's about making things look neat, and look at all the food there is on there. Brenda gets fed concoction of stuff to make her happy once a day. So she is horribly spoiled with her food. I could just let her eat grass and hay, and she would be deeply unhappy and grumpy with me.
So would that be enough for her?
She'd produce less milk.
Okay.
But she's my only cow, and I spoil her rotten. So she gets sugar beet pulp, which is a byproduct of the British sugar industry. Fantastic stuff, which is soaked in water, and she really likes that. She really likes carrots and other roots, which I grow in the garden. She has quite a lot of those. I feed her a little bit of concentrated cattle feed, dairy cattle cake, about, I suppose, 3/4 of a kilo or a kilo a day, something like that. She really likes that. She also has some alfalfa hay, which is chopped up, and it's got a little bit of molasses in it. It's very, very sweet. She really, really likes that. But I would be, you know, excommunicated and shot by lots of my cow hippie dairy friends who firmly believe that cows should have grass and nothing else 365 days of the year. And that's what they get. And they've got all sorts of wonderful different ways of making pasture not only very fertile and very productive, but also very palatable for cattle to eat. So yeah, pasture for life is a big, big movement in the alternative cow industry, beef and dairy.
The best way to...
Yeah, that's the kind of, yeah, the Rolls-Royce standard for high grade, high quality cattle management is pasture for life.
Okay.
And yeah, they don't like me feeding sugary, starchy stuff.
Yeah. Would you say environmentally that's the best?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. What we don't want to do is we want to take advantage of the fact that we can't eat grass and cows can eat grass. And I'm right with the argument that we shouldn't be feeding food to cattle that we can eat ourselves. We shouldn't be feeding them barley because we can make that into beer. We shouldn't be feeding them wheat because we can make that into bread. And so dairy industries have got to exist where the grass grows brilliantly. And that's why Somerset is the global capital of dairy. Right in the heart of this county is a little place called Cheddar, where the most famous cheese in the world comes from. And it's not like that by accident, it's like that for a reason, because the grass grows brilliantly in Somerset because it's always bloody raining here. And that's why the West Country has a famous, burgeoning, huge dairy industry, because of the grass.